Hey, well, I've been out shoveling. Pretty chilly out, a lot of wind. Gonna warm up tomorrow. Gonna be cold the rest of the week. Shirt soaked my t-shirt because I had a coat on out there. It's a it's an interesting thing. I've been watching thinking about all that anti-Trumpism that's out there. It's a very strange thing. People hate Trump because he doesn't want he doesn't represent uh, he doesn't represent what do you call it mediocrity. That's the reason they hate him. People want mediocrity. And what I mean by that is that they want people to be protected and not to have to compete. And they don't understand that what's the word the superior people, people who produce more stuff. It's the Pareto principle. I was just learning about that. Pareto principle means the square root of a population produces half the goods. So if there's 100 people in a population, 10 of them produce 50% of the goods. But the funny thing is that everybody benefits from that as long as it's a free market. See? Now that we have a political market, politics dominates our society. This thing doesn't want to move over for some reason. There it is. Now that politics dominates our society, then that means mediocrity dominates society, and the society decays. And that's why I'm predicting this collapse coming up. I mean, that's the fundamental human cause of it, not the mechanics of inflation caused by the central bank, Federal Reserve, and the mechanics of politicians taking advantage of cheap money and giving away free stuff. So it's this whole process of hating Trump is based on ignorance of one's own desire to be compassionate as opposed to really compassionate, to really help people, and that is to have a free market. And one guy says that it's because of the instinctual realization of people who are not sexually desirable, people that don't have any money, that they have whispered into their ear, the demagogues whisper into their ear, well, it's because the other people are stealing from you. And that's the reason the whole lie got set up. And of course, what happened was the smarter people actually became part of the theft system rather than the productivity system, because there's a big lie that America's been producing more and the wages are going down. America hasn't been producing more, and that's why there's a huge trade deficit. And the reason that there's a huge wealth disparity compared to what there would have been is because of the central banking, because it focuses money onto special interests rather than money being owned by the people in the form of gold and silver. That's the reason there's disparity. And then the more productive people would actually end up driving wages up because they would increase productivity. That drives wages up. It's impossible for wages not to go up as productivity goes up in a free market. And of course, it's impossible for productivity to go up in anything other than a free market. As a matter of fact, I don't even think that the Germans actually did that well under Hitler. I think they probably did well for special products like military products, but I think they probably had a lot of austerity as a result of all that fascism, all that corporatism that took place under Hitler. So that particular paradox came to me. Am I correct in that a centralized a centralized economy like the one that Hitler had can be actually productive, and I don't think it can. I think it's a lie. However, our economy was very centralized during the 30s by Roosevelt, so that Hitler did some things like he allowed wages to adjust downward, and Hoover and Roosevelt wouldn't allow that. That's what caused the Depression, amongst the fact that the banks did the wrong thing, and which caused other problems like too much spending. So my philosophy, as you all know, is all society should be based on the autonomous individual, including the mentally retarded person. As a reductio ad absurdum, even he can't be told what to do. How are you going to tell anybody else what to do, or she? So why do people hate Trump? They hate Trump because he represents elitism, superiority, or productivity, creativity, and I hate people sometimes because they stomp on my ego. They challenge my ego. That's what causes you to hate. People stomp on your ego. And if you love socialism, you love, what do they call it? What's that word? It's not internationalism, but you know what I mean. Having a borderless society. It's very popular amongst the left now, as is socialism and free stuff. It's very suicidal, of course. And so it's going to bring us down. And those who pay attention to what I've told about how to invest can be protected. But if you don't, you're not. If you're dependent on the system, you're screwed. And it's sad that the very people that the left is trying to protect, the minorities and the poor, are actually going to be suffering hugely because of this coming economic collapse. There's nothing anybody's going to do about it except to take the time to restructure a free society, which we don't have. So if you hate Trump, and the other thing that's really weird is that you hate Trump, but you don't hate anybody else who was murderous, like Obama or like Hillary, who were murderers. They murdered millions of people, over hundreds of thousands of people in the Middle East. They created turmoil in Libya and Syria, and caused the huge migrant crisis into Europe. So it's not just that you're confused because you don't know what's good for people, which is individual autonomy, including the rich, including the elite, the more intelligent people, the more ambitious people. It's not just that. It's just you're also a hypocrite because you care more for what Trump says than what Obama did. Obama talked pretty, and then he supported murder. Like, for instance, he started the support of the war on Yemen, which the Saudis initiated. It was causing a genocide in Yemen, right? And of course, Trump has been perpetuating that for 2 years, and he's at fault for that. But at least he's trying to push in the other direction. And the fact that he's pushing in the other direction makes him a relative, I don't want to use the word hero, but a relatively virtuous person. And the fact that Obama did what he did and Hillary did what she did makes them a relatively evil person. And so the left is completely confused about the way the world works and about what they really believe in. They're emotional and they're disingenuous. If they hate hate Trump, but they don't hate Obama, it's completely disingenuous. I have no concept of why you would even think like that, other than the fact that you're just too emotional and too ideological. Ideological is the real idea. ideology is way more important for you than whether or not people are murdered. As long as you're a black liberal, you can murder people in the Middle East. That's the way it looks. And certainly that's the way the propaganda runs, because every time Trump makes a move in the direction of peace, the establishment goes ape shit. So it's a terrible thing when you're caught up in a stupid ideology of trying to make yourself feel better, feel better because you're in favor of some ideology, of egalitarianism and internationalism. I forget what the term is, but you know what I mean. The term that right uses to criticize the left. I forget what it is. So, so it's really tough, and the only solution is to increase collective consciousness, and then that edge of that tendency that we all have to go in one direction or another with our psychology is softened, and it's connected to other areas of intelligence that aren't without a rising collective consciousness. So that's the reason that the country's in so much turmoil, is because of the technology of consciousness not being applied sufficiently. So let's hope that starts real soon. All right, thanks.